job and like basically taught this, so I just figured let me go back to teaching it for the first tournament. You don't have to do this. It's a more advanced skill. But the word of the day is paradigm. I like the meme on this one, when the judge shakes their head while you're speaking. Alrighty then. So paradigm is connected to that because this is what a judge favors when they're judging. Everyone has a little bit of bias. It's really impossible to get a totally unbiased judge, okay? So you might as well just use it to your advantage. Like, what do you actually want from today's round? I'll just try and give you what you want, basically, right? Rather than guessing and hoping that you get it right, just ask them. Do you like this? Are you okay with this? Do you like this? Are you okay with this? So before you debate or speak, you have time to ask them some questions. So everybody say the word for me, paradigm. Yeah. If you say it wrong, which has happened, focus guys, if you say it wrong, it will immediately make you look inexperienced. So I had 1 year of debaters who they all started, like, as a joke. All of them were like, paradigm! But then one kid wasn't paying enough attention and didn't realize that was a joke. So paradigm is wrong. Paradigm is correct. Paradigm. So look at the sentence. This is literally what you would say to the judge. If you want to. I'm not saying you have to. But you might say something like, do you have a paradigm or anything specific you're looking for today? You have to kind of define it like that because, number one, you might get an inexperienced judge who doesn't know all of our debate jargon. They don't know all these debate specifics. Number two, it's almost a way of testing your judge. If you look at the examples, you have to determine their experience. That's one way of figuring out if they know what they're doing. If they don't even know the word paradigm, then you know you probably have a mama judge or a lay judge. Asking their paradigm can make you look good because why would you ask the judge what they want to see in that round if you didn't care, right? So one big thing, though, is don't ignore their answer. Midvale used to have a very strong team. Midvale, they had a lot of LDers, and they were good. But they drove me crazy for one specific reason. They would ask me my paradigm. I would tell them, I don't want you to speed read. And guess what they did? They speed read. Yep, or speed read, yeah. They just ignored what I told them. Don't ask if you're not going to try and adapt. That's the big problem. That's why I hesitate to teach this before the first tournament. You've got enough going on at the first tournament that if you can't handle trying to actually give them what they want, then maybe just don't ask. And it's not the end of the world. This really is a more varsity level skill, okay? So you do need to ask before you start. I had a kid who asked me in the middle of the round, and I was like, that kid doesn't know what he's doing. That's another problem I've had. People say it wrong or they ask in the middle. If you are oratory, only one person would ask in the round. And if the person before you didn't ask, and you're like the second or third speaker, then you should be the one that asks. Extemp is different because extemp is staggered every 5 minutes, so every extemper would ask. And LD and policy, if your opponent's already asked and you weren't paying attention, I've had that happen too. It makes you look really bad. So pay attention, and only one person in the round would be asking. And let's see, I'm going to show you in just a second like what my actual paradigm is. There are a couple of things to be aware of. Sometimes you get really hyper debaters, and it makes sense. They're excited. They want to do well. But if you like pester the judge the second they show up to your round, I've had that happen too, give them a second to settle in. When you are there at the tournament, you'll be waiting in the hall, and then your judge shows up, and then you come in. They need time to put their stuff down, and they might be flowing, they might have a timer, they need to get their ballot set up. Give them a second. Most judges will ask, do you have any questions? That's when you would ask. If the judge doesn't ask, then you would say, can I ask you a couple of questions before we get started? And it might be stuff like, for policy and LD, it was part of your help packet, right? I gave you a list of questions you might want to consider asking. You could ask stuff like, do you want me to face my opponent or you? Are you okay if I time myself? Are you okay if I do this certain strategy during cross-ex? That depends on what type of debate you do, right? For oratory, you might say something like, I don't know, orator, help me out. Do you have any specific questions you ask? It's a little less than policy and LD.
Well, you kind of ask, like, do you like confused?
Yeah.
If they're still really confused.
And it could be the timer question. That's another big one, too. Yep. Another non-example is asking multiple times. And then you do, have I told you the story of the girl who got famous in a bad way for overly sucking up? Okay, so there's this girl, she was really famous. I don't know what school she was from, but she would over the top. Oh my gosh, your hair is so beautiful. Your nails are perfect. I love everything about you. You're the best judge I've ever had. It was way, way intense. It was super weird. And she did it every time. And every judge, like, she got famous amongst the judges, like, oh, you have that one girl. I'm so sorry. Brace yourself. Like, yes, suck up a little, for sure. Just not too much. Yeah.
Wait, can you ask a question about the speech?
Yeah. And then, again, don't ask, though, if you're not willing to actually adapt. Okay, so this happens more in high school tournaments, but I'm going to show you this. You can click on the link. It might take you here. It might not. I don't know. But, hold on. Let me see if this will let me actually get out of full screen. Give me just a second. I've judged lots and lots and lots of high school tournaments, and unfortunately, they don't do this. I wish they did. I've tried to tell them they should move to electronic ballots. They keep ignoring me. I'm going to keep trying. But in high school, when they release your schematic or your posting, then you know often who your judge is, and then you can go look up their paradigm, because most judges have a pre-written paradigm like this. And the paradigm is meant to not only give them information about you as the judge, but also helps them start figuring out how they're going to adapt to you. So for my paradigm, it's long, because I'm a very involved judge. I tell them all of my experience, how I'm a first-time coach, how I've judged lots of national tournaments, how many times my own students have won the state tournament. I tell them specifically what I want to see in speech events. So, oratory and accept, you might want to steal one of these things for your You Try box. I tell them I like performances that seem authentic and passionate, and they still really enjoy performing. I tell them that I want interesting research. I tell them I want a well-organized speech. I want you to sell me on your ideas. And then policy and LD, you might want to steal one of these things for your You Try box. I tell them that I want really consistent signposting, which is a future mini lesson we'll have. I tell them that for policy, I'm what's called a stock issues judge. There's different types of judges. That I don't like spreading or critique or theory arguments, which is something I've barely taught you guys. That if you are going to spread, that you better like repeat the important stuff and really stress the important stuff. That I don't flow cross-examination. That's another question LD and policy can ask is, are you actually going to be paying attention during that part? Because they don't have to. And that I'm looking for actual debate rather than just a war of pre-written speeches, which is very normal and very annoying. And then there's 21 other types of speech and debate events. So then I have this whole other section that I will teach you after the state tournament. But that is something that is online, and in high school, you can have access to stuff like that, which in middle school, you don't have access to it. So instead, you can ask them questions. And if you're trying to look for specific things, are you okay with this? Are you okay with this? Just ask, right? So does anyone have questions about paradigm? And then I want you to say this sentence with me, because I know it's dumb, but I want to get it stuck in your head, because you really do need to ask it kind of like this. So here we go. Everybody with me, here we go. Do you have a paradigm or anything you're specifically looking for? Let's actually say it. I want your mouth getting used to those words. I know that's silly. Everybody, here we go. Do you have a paradigm or anything specific you're looking for today? Or you could say, is there anything you're going to specifically judge us on? Or is there stuff you really hate that happens in rounds? You could say it like that. Okay.